My name is Hannah, and I'm the founder of the American Shark Conservancy. And basically, I'll chat with you guys today about how I kind of decided to become a scientist and got interested in sharks. And to be completely honest with you, I actually was a little bit scared of sharks growing up. Here in Florida, there were always a lot of news stories about sharks on our local beaches. And there were, even though it would be one or two stitches from maybe a small shark, like a nurse shark or a black tip shark, the news would always show a great white. So those of you who are fans of great whites, I'm sure you've seen the pictures all over the news, and that's usually the go-to because it's kind of the big, bad, scary shark that everyone associates with movies. So I was a little bit scared, even to the point when my dad or brother would be joking around and turn the light off in the pool. If we'd be swimming at night, I would freak out. So something in that primitive brain just didn't like that idea. So I was a little bit scared of sharks. And something about the way my brain works, I decided that actually, if I'm scared of something, I kind of want to learn as much as I can about them. And so I actually would read every book, and probably like you guys, I would look at, listen to webinars and, try to find out as much information. And what I figured out was that sharks aren't really all that scary. And especially the fact that when you say the word shark, it's actually talking about 500 plus species. It's not just, no offense to the great whites, my first love, my first true love. But we were talking about everything from a dwarf lantern shark all the way up to a whale shark. So I learned that, and their reputation was kind of not really warranted. And instead of being afraid of sharks, I realized that they were kind of the underdog. They kind of got an unfair shake. So I decided that maybe I should learn more about them so that I can use science to protect them. So what I decided to do was go into learning biology. So I went to Florida Tech, which is a university on the east coast of Florida in Melbourne, Florida. And I got a great professors and a really good baseline all about science. It was very science-based. So I realized that I really liked science, and one of my favorite courses was ecology. So when we were looking at ecology, I realized that it was really a study of the whole ecosystem and how all of those different parts and characteristics about an ecosystem all come together. So although I was really interested in sharks and seems like one little piece of the puzzle, I actually decided that my focus was going to be kind of on the ecosystem as a whole. So that's where I discovered ecology, and I just fell in love with it, and how maybe it was because I loved puzzles and seeing how all of those pieces of the puzzle work together. So again, I'm so sorry I can't share my screen, but I was just going to show you some pictures when I was in South Africa. So I decided to continue my education at graduate school and found a place in a lab in South Africa. So I traveled from Florida to Cape Town, South Africa, and decided to do my master's down there at the University of Cape Town. So nowadays, there's a lot of different opportunities to be involved in research in South Africa. So there's internships and volunteer programs. Back in the day, which unfortunately I'll show my age, but several years ago, these opportunities didn't really exist. So as a master's student and studying marine biodiversity, and I didn't really have any field work, I was kind of the only person that was available to give a helping hand to all the other projects that had a lot of field work. And a lot of it was shark research. So I was able to help out with research that the government was doing. I helped out on a whole bunch of different PhD projects, studied cat sharks. We studied, tagged, and did a bunch of stuff with great whites. And then I also ended up working with the private industry, so the tourist industry, so the cage diving boats in South Africa. So I kind of was a really important time for me because I realized how all of these little pieces of the puzzle kind of work together. I had my perspective about great whites. I love them. I wanted to be in the water with them. I thought they were amazing. But then I also realized that all of these different people who interact with great whites have their own perspective. So there were the fishermen who were losing catch to great whites. There was the tourist industry that also wanted to see healthy great whites, but to them it was a little bit more about just making money. There were the researchers that wanted to get all sorts of data from the great whites. So everybody sort of had their own, and then city managers were a little bit afraid of the public safety side. So, and I'm sure the if you guys follow the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, they know this very well, and you have to find that balance for all the different people who are interested in sharks. So that's when I decided that was the way I would like to use my training and my knowledge through my science degree, was to basically use science to help support finding a really good balance for all those people that cared about the sharks. So when I got back to the United States, I ended up working for a group called Shark Savers, which was great to have a paying job doing exactly what I wanted to do. So a big part of my job was using science to help support their conservation, campaign. So they mostly worked in Asia, a lot to do with the fin trade, overfishing, enforcement issues overseas. But every once in a while we got to work here in our own backyard in sunny South Florida. So we were able to push forward use the science to support the protection of lemon sharks and great hammerheads, smoothed and scalloped, and tiger sharks here in the state of Florida. And when that was really successful and we got the protections, I realized that it took a whole group of people to do that, all with lots of different backgrounds. So on the day that I voted to protect these sharks, I had given a talk about the science behind it, but we also had just really passionate people who cared about the animals. We had TV people, we had other people from the academic world, we had TV personalities, other nonprofits. So it just kind of made me realize that it does take a whole bunch of different people with different perspectives to make sure that our sharks are protected. So it was really, really great working for Shark Savers, but unfortunately I was kind of stuck at the desk most of my day. I was doing what I really wanted to do, but I kind of missed that whole field work thing. So everybody, I think, that loves sharks and loves the ocean wants to kind of be out in the ocean, right? I mean, that's kind of why we get into this. So in the field work portion a little bit. And so I think I was really lucky in sort of finding a group to work with. There was a project that was being run by a member of the Bimini Shark Lab. So if you guys have ever heard of the Bimini Shark Lab in the Bahamas, they actually did a little bit of research off of the coast of Florida for a while. So I was able to join them and do a lot of the field work for several years, which also helped me keep my skills fresh. I learned a lot from the principal investigator, Dr. Steve Kessel, and a lot of the different people that worked, and still really great friends to this day. So that I was really lucky to get involved with that and learned how to suture up a shark and from Jill Brooks, and yeah, just a lot of really great skills, which has actually gave me the confidence forward with my research. So that's basically Shark Savers kind of went away, and what I was able to do then was look around and say, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done here. And although we have quite a few really great universities in Florida that study a lot of different topics about sharks, what was really important to me was the fact that we could be an independent research group. So we started the American Shark Conservancy. Again, we're based here. I don't know if you guys can see how sunny it is. If you're up in the really cold, nasty weather, soon you'll be able to come down and visit. And basically we were able to form this, which was really awesome. And we do quite a bit of different things. We have our research arm, and we also do outreach. So we have a couple of research projects which have been really cool to put together, in that we're answering a lot of really great questions. And then we also have on the other side, on the flip side, we do a lot of education and outreach. So when this whole mess is over and we can all hang out together again, you can often find our crew at a lot of community places, community events and stuff where we have tables. We have really We've developed a really fun game, which you guys, again, hopefully maybe we can figure out how to do it online. Basically, we use these really cute stuffed sharks to teach you how we catch and tag the sharks here in Florida and measure them. So hopefully we can do it online, but then again, hopefully too, if you guys are in the area, you can join us for one of those events, which I think would be a lot of fun. So I see there's a couple of questions coming in already, so I'll jump on that really quickly. My favorite species of shark, well, I have to say it's a great white shark. They are just, it was my first love. When I was younger and a little bit afraid of sharks, I saw a documentary that showed great whites jumping out of the water in South Africa, and I thought, I have to see that in person. That is amazing. So once I got down to South Africa and spending 4 full years on the boats and working with white sharks, I realized, yeah, they're pretty amazing. They're so strong. And just imagine being able to swim around and not really being afraid of, okay, they're afraid of work, sure, but in general, just not really being able, not being afraid of anything. So I think they're pretty awesome sharks. The observations I've made of sharks feeding. So that's a really great question, because one of our big projects has been the Florida Shark Survey. And what we do is we go in the water, we use a camera. I don't know if I have it here. Yep. So we use a camera that has paired lasers on either side, and they're parallel. So the camera will here, and we're able to take pictures of the sharks. The lasers are a known distance apart. So when we take that picture, we can determine how big that shark is by knowing fixed distance between the laser points. So that has led to a lot of video footage of sharks feeding, sharks eating, sharks swimming around. We had one whole dive where it looked like 2 sharks were holding hands for 45 minutes. Not super scientific observation on that one, but it was really interesting. So for the feeding side, we've seen a lot of sharks feeding on a lot of different things. Not necessarily a natural predation, which would say a shark actually eating live prey. But it's been really interesting to see how different species react to having food near them. And the one really cool thing too is when it comes to the design of sharks' teeth and their jaws, it's really amazing to think that over 450 million years, they've been able to get these really designs on their jaws and their teeth. It's really specific to what they want to eat. So the sharks with really pointy teeth are able to just quickly snatch something that they don't have to cut a big chunk out of, like a fish. Other sharks that have sort of flattened teeth are designed perfectly to crush things that they find delicious that have hard shells, like clams and crabs. So those have been some of the really cool adaptations we've seen in a lot of the shark species. And luckily here off the coast of Florida, we have a really good diverse number of shark species here. So we have another one. Do you think aquariums help animals in the wild? And if so, how? So sharks can be tough to keep in aquarium because most of them are big bodied and swim really long distances. I think it can be really difficult to keep some of those bigger sharks in aquariums. But I have to say, and this is kind of the same thing when you hear a lot of people mention the movie Jaws, I was actually inspired by things like that. Although some people think they've done harm, things like being able to go to an aquarium for someone who's never been able to visit the seaside or go snorkeling or go scuba diving. Some of the sharks that are small enough to keep an aquarium where they're really healthy and enriched and happy, I think does an incredible amount for public awareness. Because if you talk about sharks and you don't ever see one live, I think it's really easy to be like, who cares? But if you're actually able to see a shark live in an aquarium, and as long as it's done in a really healthy way for the sharks, I think it's really, really important to keeping them in the public eye. So that was a great question. I like that one. And we'll see if some of others have come through. How do you record and store the data you collect on a boat so it doesn't get wet? Ooh, that is a really good question. So there is actually waterproof paper, which helps a lot of us field biologists out. So basically you can take pencil. So this is our data book, our trusty data book. And basically it's called Write in the Rain. And on the inside is waterproof paper. So we can make observations and collect all sorts of data in pencil, and then you could pour water on top of it and it doesn't wash off and the paper doesn't dissolve. Isn't that amazing? So I have a whole stack of these, which have been super, super duper valuable. And then I have free sheets of waterproof data as well. So these things are like gold. We definitely onto these, and they've made it really, really easy to collect information. And we do collect pages and pages of data when we're studying sharks and anything in the ocean, really. And you're right, it does have to. I've lost a couple of cell phones to water damage just because that's why I capture images. Everybody takes pictures with their cell phones these days, and mine wasn't actually waterproof at first. So I've lost a couple of cell phones, but most everything else that we use to study sharks is either waterproof or have really good cases that are waterproof that we can put them in. But things do happen. I flooded a few cameras as well, which is really sad. I don't know if you can see. This was my my beloved camera that I use in the surveys, and unfortunately it got water in the housing and it doesn't work anymore. So sometimes you have a few lethal things that can happen, especially when it comes to salt water. So how many sharks have you tagged? Okay, so really great information. In the previous work that we did with the Bimini Shark Lab, I think, and they may need to correct me, but over 100 lemon sharks have acoustic tags in them. And basically these are little tags that have a unique frequency. You make a little incision in the belly of the shark, you put it in their body column, and you sew it up really quickly. So as there's listening stations all up and down the coast of the United States, and as a shark swims by, that unique code is recorded by the listening stations. So we can figure out where those sharks swim up and down and how much time they spend in an area and who they like to hang out with, which is really, really important. And then in our current study, we're studying hammerheads. And right now we've put 12 satellite tags out so far. Before all of this stuff happened, we had just ordered 8 more tags, thankfully with support of great funders and advisors. So we'll be getting another 8 tags out in the next couple months, hopefully. And what classes are important to take if you want to be a marine biologist? That's a great question as well. So it's going to depend on the university or college that you go to. But basically in general, there's going to be a lot of baseline science classes that you have to take. And although we do mentor some undergrad and early career scientists, and the biggest complaint is the fact that we all had to kind of struggle through organic chemistry. That's been kind of the one class that seems to kind of catch us all up. But it is really, really important, and getting exposed to all of this different kind of research and all of this different types of science can help you figure out exactly what you want to do and what you want to focus on as a marine biologist. So it can be really important to kind of try a couple of different classes. You're going to have your basic biology, chemistry, physics even. I didn't do so great in physics. And then you'll see as your years go on in college, you'll get into more detailed classes like microbiology. I loved developmental biology. And then if you really are focused on marine, there's usually a marine biology class that's offered. I took marine ecology, which was amazing. So again, kind of depends on the university or college that you end up. But basically, anything to do with the sciences, your first couple years are going to be maybe a little, a little tough to get through because it'll be a lot of that basic stuff. But then you'll start to get into really awesome. I did an earth science class that was really helpful, and I led the developmental class as well. Safety precautions when swimming with sharks, and how does that change based on the species you're working with? That is also a really good question. So one of our projects does require me to get in the water with sharks. And it's not necessarily, it's up to every individual to decide whether or not they want to do that. Safety precautions, personally, I just always like to have something in my hands. I've been in the water with, I think, not as many as a lot of other like photographers and stuff, but I mean, I think I'm at like 15 or so species. And spending a lot of time with the ones here off of the coast of Florida, I can say that I'm pretty comfortable with behaviors, and I can kind of see that, the lemon sharks they like to be close to you. They're not very snappy. At least our lemon sharks aren't. I can make some general comments about that, but I just particularly for my own personal, I think, calmness, like to have something in my hand. So whether it's a large format camera, sometimes divers just go in with a simple PVC pole. And again, it's not necessarily used, I don't advocate using it as a weapon to keep sharks away, but basically it's just kind of establishing a barrier between you and them. So something simple like a PVC pole wrapped in electrical tape. If anybody does the dives with me, I do ask that they have something in their hand. And a really big thing for me too is to make sure that you have gloves and socks, and you don't have really flashy white, fleshy looking anywhere out there, because if you have a long wetsuit on and then no gloves, the sharks are going to see the contrast between your hands and the wetsuit. So luckily here, I actually have trouble getting sharks to come close to me to get these good images that I need with the lasers. So a lot of times it's me kind of chasing them around. But as for the safety precautions, I like to dive with people I trust, and I just like to have something in hand, no matter what kind of species it is. Do I have a favorite shark joke? Oh no, that's a really good question. I don't know if I have a favorite shark joke, but a very, very favorite image that I have, which I copied, and it's I send it out every year, and it's "Have a Great White Christmas," and it's a great white with a Santa hat on. So I don't know if you please in the comments, if you guys have good shark jokes, you got to let me know, because that's a great question, and I think I should have some shark jokes in my back pocket for sure. So yeah, if you guys have any great shark jokes, please write them in the comments. That would be amazing. Okay, so next question is, what is the favorite part of your job? I think if I'm quiet underwater, watching a shark sort of swim around, or even on top of a boat, and just basically seeing a shark be a shark, knowing that they're doing exactly what they were doing millions of years ago without having to think about overfishing or the numbers of sharks decreasing or environmental disasters. I just like to take a pause and kind of watch a shark be a shark, and just kind of observe them. I think my favorite part of the day, and especially the favorite part of my job, is just being kind of near these animals that I have such respect for. And maybe another part would be when finally something I've done, because science can take a really long time. A lot of our projects are really like years before you get actually being applied to something that's going to protect sharks. So when you do get to the point where you see something that you did scientifically being to a really good policy, or a way to protect sharks, then that makes me really happy. That's definitely one of my favorite. I have a lot of favorite parts. I think that's kind of a tough question to answer for sure. So, let's see. What is your dream to observe in the field or research to do? Ooh, that's a good question. That's like an interview question. I like that. My dream research is we realized recently that recreational fishing is actually kind of having a pretty big impact on our fish and our oceans. But we've kind of shrugged it off for a long time because it was recreational and most people catch a shark and release a shark and shouldn't be any big deal. So I would love to expand that and see, and there's not been a lot of research done on the impacts of recreational fishing or what does recreational fishing even look like. So I think that would be really fun. Get a whole bunch of different species, a lot of different ways of fishing, and just definitely see what the story really is. So I think moving forward with lots and lots of funding, I would love to know more about that for sure. How can viewers help in shark conservation? Awesome question. That's the important question. So I think you guys are probably doing a lot of really good things already, like recycling and probably not using a ton of plastic and being really mindful about the type of fish you eat, making sure that it's sustainable. You can always check out the Monterey Bay Aquariums Seafood Watch. If you go to their website, they have a list of fish that are good to eat based on the way that they're caught. So you're probably all doing that anyway, which is amazing. Keep up the good work using reusable water bottles and all of that. So that's amazing. This whole new generation kind of think has the good idea about how to be a little bit kinder to our planet. And I think the biggest thing that I like to say to people is to know more about sharks and shark conservation. So it kind of makes you do the homework, but the more you learn about sharks and the truth about sharks and kind of research a little bit and learn a little bit beyond what what some of those quick facts are about sharks, I think you guys become the ones that can speak up and protect sharks. So if in our oceans in general, so kind of educating yourself to what the issues are, what the process is to help protect sharks, just kind of going a little bit beyond, maybe signing a petition or something. So I think that's really important. If you kind of speak up when you need up, and learning a little bit how these processes work. And, basically if somebody's saying something silly about a shark, you can speak up and say, nope, that's not right because I learned this, and this. So building this awesome army of shark stewards out there is also part of our mission, because I think when it comes to changing rules and laws, as long as we know that what we need to do to protect sharks and we can speak up, I think that's going to be really, really important moving forward in the future. So that'll help a lot. Can you share what you know about goblin sharks? Goblin sharks, that's been a really hot topic lately. Was there like a video that I missed or something? Yeah, goblin sharks are crazy, right? So goblin sharks, I know very little, but basically you guys know they have that really long nose that comes out. And sharks in general, their jaws, if you guys touch right here by your jaws, where your jaw actually is attached to your skull. So if you push up here, you can feel it. It's hinged, but it's actually attached. But with sharks, the jaws aren't actually attached to the skull. They're independent. They're held together by some ligaments in the skin, obviously. So goblin sharks, it means basically their designs are all made to make their lives a little easier, which makes a lot of sense, right? Goblin sharks have this really long nose, and all of that is surface area where you can pack in a lot of ampullae of Lorenzini, one of my favorite words ever. So those are all the little filled canals that will pick up on electromagnetic pulses that come off of any living creature, like their prey. So that big long nose gives them a little bit of advantage because in their ecosystem, it's really hard to find prey. So that big nose helps them find prey items. And then that jaw being able to jut all the way out like that also is this really good advantage to have. So that is something, if you live in a really tough environment you're going to probably come up with some tools and some adaptations to make it a little bit easier to find food. So that's kind of all I really know about the goblin shark, to be honest with you. But there's really great resources out there online too that will have some information about them. All right. Oh, there was a joke that was sent in. Yay. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. What is a great white's favorite candy? Give you a couple of seconds to think about that. A jawbreaker. That's pretty All right, that is really good. I think we can end it on a funny note, which hopefully you guys can get a good chuckle out of that. And please, like I said, in the comments, leave some more jokes if you'd want. They're awesome. And I just want to say a huge thank you. I did get the question, like, what does your everyday day-to-day look like? And I know I've talked a lot about diving with sharks and, you know, being in the field. But to be honest with you, when it does come to marine biology and being a scientist, there's a lot of coffee involved, a lot of computer time, a lot of communicating, planning. You have to be pretty organized, which you might not be able to tell from my desk space here, so don't look at that. But yeah, so it's about 5% of that really fun, awesome time, but that definitely makes it worth it when you get to spend some time in the field with the animals. So I just want to say thank you guys, and thank you to the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. Awesome time. Thank you for all the great comments. We're super excited. And yeah, if you guys have any other questions, please put them in the comments and I can type a quick answer to you guys. So thank you so much. I hope everybody stays safe and healthy, and hopefully I'll see you guys back here at some point. So thank you guys, and hope you have a really great weekend. It's Friday. All right. Bye.